Hi everyone. We'll start this workshop with another application today. So far, if you have attended the workshop, so we have kind of worked on two different application and then we have deployed it to Firebase. So basically, we have worked on age calculator, we have worked on a Pokemon app, and today what we are going to work on is us like it. We will kind of combine all of these things together, and we will see a real world app implementation where we will talk about all the features and everything. So let me just second. Let me just do one thing quickly. I'll just open my VS Code again here and I'll start with a new project basically. So new Flutter new application project. And here we can we can maybe select a new folder, and this time I'm gonna name it catalog workshop. And basically when you create your new project for the first time, you have to give it the name in lowercase. So now we will create it once it is done. So right now I have also updated my Flutter version to version 2.2.0. So that is the latest version which was just announced few days back. So now we are here, and I will run this application first of all on my Windows machine, and then we will start building the application, and then we will start doing things. So let's build this up first, and let's see what we get, and then we will start building our product. So basically, this is a catalog workshop. So we will try to build a catalog kind of screen, but we will start um, from login and all those things as well, right? So as you can see, we can see this thing, which is okay, like right. Let's do this. Yeah, this is fine. One second. Yeah. So this is the application which we got where we have a button. We can press on this button and it will do some basic things which we already know. So what I'm gonna do, I am actually going to remove all the code and I am going to write it from the start. So I can say here that I need a stateless widget first of all, where I can just say it my app. So we got a blank canvas, basically a container. Here I can say that I need a material app, and I don't want a banner on the top, so I can also make it false. And for home, I am just going to give a container, right? And we will also talk about the structure of the code. So here, what you have to do in lib, you can create a new folder and you can call it pages, for example. Similarly, you can create a new folder where you can call it utils if you want some utilities. You can create a new folder for let's say, like, we can cover most of these things internally, but let's say if you want, you can save widgets. So if we have some set of widgets which we want to make, we can create them like this. And on the root, we will create another folder called assets, where we will keep all of our assets and all those kind of things. So this is pretty much what we have. Now we will start with the pages. So first of all, we will create a login page dot dart, and inside this page, in fact, what we can do here is um, we can actually create a new folder, in fact, login. And inside login, we can move the login page. And we can similarly create a new folder called home, and we can create a new file here, which can be homepage.dart, right? So all these kind of things we can do. Similarly, in utils, we can have a new file called routes.dart, where we can create our routes. So I can say mix in routes, right? And I can say static string login route, for example, and I can give it as slash login, something like this, right? Similarly, we can have a home route, which can be like slash, just slash, right? Something like this we can do. Now I'll go back to pubspec.yaml. Here I will add some dependencies because we have none of the dependencies. So first dependency which I will add is velocity x, which because that's what I need. Second dependency which I want to add will be Google Fonts. So that's also something which can be very helpful. Third dependency which I want to add is a HTTP library, if that can be very useful as well. And apart from that, if we will need something, then we will add it later, right? So that's fine. That's pretty good, in fact. And now what I'm gonna do, I am actually going to go back to my login page and I will start creating this page. So running pubget right now so that we can fetch all the dependencies. It's gonna take a moment. It will not take much time. And now we can just say a stateless widget. So I can just say stateless widget. And in fact, what I can do before doing that, we can create a new file over here as well, guys. And that file will be packages.dart, where we can export frequently used packages. Let's say, for example, we have to import material. So we can export material here and we have to import velocity X. So we can do that as well. So all these sort of things can be useful. So now if I go back to my login page, so what I'm going to do, I am going to import packages. Okay. So packages, so it should be like dot slash. No. Oh, should have worked. Okay, this is going bad. So let's try with packages dot dart, and this should be fine. And now I can create a new stateless widget and I can call it login page, for example, right? And here I can have a scaffold, for example, where I can say an app bar, um, where I can say expand, or I can say behind. What else we have? Here I just want to make it a little transparent. So what I can do is I can set the elevation as 0. And okay, I'll return to this. First of all, let's go back to main.dart, and rather than container, let's replace it with login page so that we can start seeing something happening. So now we can see something is happening. We can see the login page over here, which is big relief that we were able to do it. Then also I want to change certain things here. So what I'm gonna do is I just want to say the background color will be transparent, and I want to add some text in the body. So I'll start a body, I'll make it a column, and inside column, I hope that you have already understood all these widgets concept in previous workshops. So that's why I'm not explaining these things. But yeah, I think you should have the idea already. So now what I'm gonna do, I am gonna name it a login page. So I can just say sign in, something like this. And I can say velocity X to help me with the UI stuff. So now if we see, we have a sign in here, which is looking fine. Let's also give some padding to this. So P16, which means 16 padding from all sides. And I also want to make it semi bold. And let's increase the size further to XL6, XL4, XL5. Yeah, this is looking good. And we have a sign in like header over here. Now what else I want to have an image over here. So what I can do, you can go to your maybe browser and you can search for, let's say, undraw.co. and we can, you know, get some image from here for login, for example, so that you can see how to include images inside your application. So if we see here, we get a lot of images. For login, we have couple of, this one is looking much better in terms of login, and even this one is fine. So what I'm gonna do, I am actually going to use this one because the whole purpose of setting this up is basically just to understand how things work. So download PNG for this one, and I will just add it to my downloads. I will just name it as login. And I have this image now, which is login. I'll go back to my VS Code, and I have created one folder called assets. So I can drop that image to that asset. So I'll just go back to my downloads, or I have in fact here login, and I can just keep it to assets. And yeah, we got it. So we have this particular thing over here, which is a login image. What else we can do is nothing. Like right now we don't need anything else. So to include these images, whatever is inside our assets folder, or you can also create a new folder over here. So what we can do, we will go back to our pubspec.yaml, and here we have a particular place from where we can enable assets. So I will just enable that, and I'll just replace it with asset slash, which means inside assets, patch everything. So inside assets, we have only one image, but if we will have something else as well, then also we will fetch it from here. Okay, now going back to login page, how we can add our image over here, right? So we can say something called image.asset, and we have to give the name of the asset. So we can say asset slash login.png, for example. And you can see I have, okay, so it's saying that it's not able to load this because we might have to do a hot restart. And yes, once we do a hot restart, we can see we have the image. In fact, the background color can be white as well, so that it matches with everything and it's looking good. Um, the other thing which I want to add, it's basically looking good in Windows. I don't know how it will look in Android phone and all those things. So we will check that as well later. But right now it's working just fine, right? So now what we are going to do, also one, let's do one more thing. Let's also wrap this entire stuff with a scroll view, scroll horizontal or scroll vertical. So we can just say scroll vertical. What we are getting here is an error. Some error is there. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's do a hot restart again. So you can face certain issues when you are developing with Windows. So that's one thing which you have to remember. So right now I'm developing on Windows. Also, let's try to start our Pixel 4 if that works. So let's start our Pixel 4 emulator as well. And let's run this on Pixel 4 emulator, in fact. So let's run it by F5. So you can press F5 to run it. It will take a moment and then it will run it. Mm. So in the meantime, it is running. So basically what we are doing is we are running it on multiple devices, and we have added this scroll vertical so that if, let's say, the viewport of our screen is a little bit lesser than what we have on, like, let's say on Windows it is larger, but on phone it is lesser. So having a scrolling option will always make sure that our UI is usable for everyone, right? So everyone can use the UI. So that's a good thing. Let's see. Okay, now we got the application again. Oh, we have the breakpoint. So that's why it is just stopping. Okay, so we got this particular thing. Also, I just want um this sign in text to be on the left side, right? And also this is not looking good. This is actually the status bar only. Okay, so what I want is I want my cross axis alignment to start. Okay, so that yeah, this goes like this, and this is not looking bad. But if I can also change the color of the text to, let's say, purple 500, then maybe it will look better. And in fact, the color which is used in the image is indigo, I guess. Let's try with indigo 500. Yes. So this is matching with the color and looking much better. Let's try with bold as well. Yeah, this is looking better. So we have a sign in option here. We have an image over here. Now what else we want? We want two text fields, one for username, one for password, and then a button. So what I'm gonna do, I can just say I'm gonna create a form basically. Form is basically to take user input, and inside that I can have another column where I can have some more children. And here I can have a text form field where I will basically say that, okay, this is my text field as you can see, and I will have one more. And this one, as you can see, this one can be for username and this one can be for password. What I'm gonna do also, guys, I'm just going to go back to main.dart and I just want to give some theme data over here so that I can set my primary swatch to, let's say, colors dot indigo, so that it can set the same color for me at a lot of places. So let's do a hot restart one time. And now you will see that we will get indigo kind of color everywhere, right? So this is also good. Now this text field is not looking great. So we can do some decoration. So we can say input decoration. And for example, border, we can say outline input border, something like that. And this is also not looking bad, right? Here, what we can say, we can give some hint and label as well. So hint text, for example, we can say enter username, and this is looking much better now. Um, and after that, what we can do, so enter username is fine. We can have a label text as well, where we can just say username, right? So this is looking fine. This is looking nice, in fact. So right now it will be like this. When you will put your cursor here, then this username will go on the top. This is looking much, much better, right? So this is looking nice. Same thing we can do for our this text field as well. Um, and rather than username, this time we will say password, right? And this one also we can say as password. We also want some like gap between them because both of them are like kind of like stick together. So we can here we can use something called 20 dot height box, and this is looking better. So username, let's try to fill the username, and I can say Pawan, and let's say that's my username, which is not looking bad. For password, if I enter something, also uh, you must have seen the passwords are usually not visible. Okay, you can hide them using some asterisks or something like that. So what we can do here, we can say off secure text, and we can make it true. So now you can see that the text is off secured, and whatever you enter, it just goes like this. Much better, right? And our sign in screen is looking really, really good. App bar is taking a lot of space, in fact. So let's remove the app bar. What do you say? Let's get rid of the app bar. Okay, this is making me feel like okay, we have used a lot of things from the top. So what we can do, we can say 50 dot height box from the top, for example, or let's make it 60. And maybe we will replace it with app bar later, but this is now looking fine. Now after text form field, we need one button as well, right? So I just want to use something called an elevated button, right? And on press of it, we want something to happen. And as a child, I can just say login, for example, login dot text dot make. So this particular analogy of writing text and all, it is basically coming from velocity X. Otherwise, you can use it like this as well. So that's also totally fine. So even if I use like this is more or less the same thing. Um, Also, I want to increase the height and width of the text. So basically, I can do some styling here. So I can say elevated button theme dot no, elevated style. Do we have something like that? Elevated button dot style from, maybe, right? This might be good option. So here we get a lot of properties like minimum size, fixed size, and all those things. So what I want is minimum size first of all. So here I can give a size, let's say width and height. So width I want as, let's say, 200, and height as 50. And this is looking much better, right? And what I want is I want to add some gap over here as well. So I'll just say 20 dot height box here as well. And this is now looking much better. And we have a ripple effect as well, if you can see, right? And login is looking really nice. So what else we have to do? So now things are looking really nice. Everything is looking fine. But we have a home page as well, or we haven't created it. So let's do that. Let's create a home page. First of all, we will import packages dot dart. So import. We will come back to that in a moment. Okay. And then we can just say, basically, I just want to have a home page just to show that we are moving from this page to that page. And here also we will have a scaffold, and body will say, let's say right now body will say, okay, home dot text dot make center, for example. So this is our home page, right? So this is our login page, that is our home page. What I want is basically, this is looking all good. What I want is when I click on this login button, if my username and password fields are fine, then it should take me to home page, right? And that should be the behavior. So right now, if I click on login, even if username is not, even if username is empty, it is not giving me some error, which is not I want. And password should have some limitation as well, right? Or some length or something like that. So what I can do in that case? So basically, I told you that we will be using this form, right? There can be n number of advantage which this form can give us, right? So first of all, we will create a form key. So we can say final form key. So we can use something like this. We can call it a global key, which will be of type form state. And this form key we will assign to this form. So here every widget has this property called key. Using this form key, we can do a lot of great things. So for, let's say, we want to say something like void on login pressed, something like this, right? And here I can have a context, for example. So I will call this method when you will press this button, like when you will press this thing. So I can just say on login pressed context, I can pass from here. Let's remove this thing. So now if I go back here, this is my method on login pressed. And if I click here, then it should come here. So I can print here that like login is pressed, right? So let's see if that works. So here we have our debug console. Let's clean it up. And now if I press it, you can see login is pressed. If I press it again, you can see it 2 times. If I press it again, then you will see it 3 times, right? So this is working. Now what I want to do, first of all, I will check from this form key dot current state dot validate. Okay, I will ask this thing to validate, right? Now it is saying validate can't be conditionally invoked because the receiver can be null, right? So we are sure it cannot be null. The current state cannot be null. So what I'm gonna do, this validate will always return boolean, whether true or false, right? So what I'm gonna do here, first of all, I'll say if, right? If this is validated, then do something else. We will print, let's say form is not validated. Um, and now if I click over here, you can see we are not getting anything because the validation is working fine. Why it is working? Because we haven't actually provided any validation. So how we can do that? So we will go to our username and we will add a validator here, right? Which will give us a value. So we can check for value. If value is equal to empty, empty means nothing has been entered, then we can just say return, we can say enter some, enter username, enter a valid username, for example, something like this, right? Otherwise we can return null, right? So same thing we will apply for this text, this text for form field as well. But this time the only difference will be value should not be, value should be if it is equal to dash or value. Okay, so we will say enter a valid password, right? Else if we will apply one more thing, if value dot length, right, is greater than, is less than, let's say 6, okay, and the value is not null, I'm sure, then we can say that return password length, password length should be at least 6, right? So these are two errors which you want to show. Now if I'll click here, then you will see enter a valid username and enter a valid password, right? And we can see form is not validated, right? So all these things are working. But what else I want? I want to do one more thing. If I enter some username, okay, now if I press the button, you can still see form is not validated. Username is validated, but password is not. And let's enter a password, let's say 1234, which is just 4 characters. So now if I click on login, you will see password length should be at least 6. So everything is working fine. And now if I press 5, 6, so if I have, so you can see our form is actually validated. So if I click here, you will not see any message, which means it is working fine. And now, once it is validated, then we can say, let's say we can say form key dot current state dot save if we want to save anything. So save, basically there is another method which we can write over here. Let's say for save, so we will say on submitted or on saved, right? So on saved, we can do something if we want to do. Right now, we don't want to do, but it's safe to do just dot save. And then I want to move to my home page, right? So how I can move to my home page? There are various ways. Like Flutter comes up with two kind of navigator. One is navigator 1 and one is the new one, which is navigator 2, right? So I will show you an example of right now navigator 1, because it will help you in easily understanding the concept. And if you want, I can also show you navigator 2.0, but I think for getting started, Navigator 1 will be easy. So what we will do, we will go back to our main.dart, right? And here we can create something called routes, right? So routes are basically, you can have separate routes for different things. For example, for login, we can have a route. For home page, we can have a route. So if you remember, we created a routes.dart file. Let's say this home route is actually slash home. This login route is slash login. So now what we can do in main.dart, we can say over here that our first route is routes dot. We have to import this. So let's import as well util slash routes. And first route is, let's say, login route. And here we have to say context, and we have to give that what route it is calling. So we can say home, oh, sorry, login page, right? So this is our first route. Similarly, we can have a second route, which is for, let's say, home route. And here we can say home page, right? So now what you can do once you have done that, let's do a hot restart and we can go to login page. And now what we can do, once we are saying it is saved, then we can say navigator dot push named, and we can provide a named route, which is slash home slash login like that. And here I can just say routes dot routes we will have to import again, and we can say home route, for example. And now if I will fill this information, let's say I fill it with something like this, password, I fill it like this. And now if I'll click on login, you will see we are back to home page. If I go back, then we are back to this page and we are back to home page. So these are some beautiful things which you can do. Now we are at the home page. So our login page is kind of completed, right? So let's go to home page now. And homepage is just saying home, text, make, centered, and all those sort of things, right? So what I'm gonna do, I am actually going to create some column over here as well, right? And actually, I want to do something like fetching some data from a list and showing it over here. So I can show you different things like that. So right now, first of all, let's say um, we can say catalog dot text dot old, for example, dot indigo 500, for example, excel 4 dot make, something like this. Okay, we have this problem again, so let's say 60 dot height box catalog. And then we will also give some padding to this column, so p16. Okay, let's make it excel 5 catalog, right? So this is what we have. So if I go back, if I press here, how this thing we have lost the state. We were using Excel 6 over here, no Excel 5 only. So this is fine. So I'll just enter some username over here again and some password, login, and we are here at the catalog. And let's say we can say another text which will say trending products, dot text dot caption style basically, and dot make. So you can see we have something saying uh, uh let's say dot excel. This is fine. What else I want is I want the cross axis alignment to start. And yeah, this is looking much better now. Also, we have added something called Google Fonts, right? But we haven't used it. So let's go back in main.dart and let's use that as well. So we have something called font family. We can use Google Fonts dot, it should be like this. And we can use a font from here. Let's say we will use Poppins. And then you can say Poppins dot font family. And now if we do a hot restart, then we will be able to see the font, I guess. Yes. So even with hot reload, we can see the font, and this is looking pretty nice, right? This font is looking much, much better. And that's how you can change the font as well, by the way. So we can add a password over here, and we can click on login, and we are here, which is looking very, very beautiful. Now, one thing which I want to do, let's do one more thing, guys. Let's also add Git here. So what we can do is we will say Git init. Um, And once we say git init, then we have all these things, right? So we will do an initial commit. So I can say initial commit. The advantage of git can be very good things we can get from git is like we can save our work, we can change our branches and all those things. Uh, so now what we can do, we have this git thing done. Now I have one JSON file. Okay, so I'll just show you. Here I have a JSON file where we have some sort of products. So basically, these products are what we can use, right? So there are two ways. Either we use these products directly or we fetch it from an API. So I'll show you the API way because we are out of time. So um, we will try to do things very fast. So what I'll do, I'll go back here in the lib in main.dart, and one second, I will actually go to engage. I will just take the URL from here because that can be useful. Inside homepage, we might have the URL. Okay, we have actually, we are fetching the data from the catalog itself. It's definitely not something which I want. So let's try with J29 probably, where we can get this. Yeah, so we have a URL over here clearly. So we can get this URL. And if I just paste this URL, then you will see what we get from this. So let's paste this. And you can see we have some data over here, right? So what I'm gonna do in home page, first of all, I will create a URL called final URL, or I'll just paste this thing where we have kind of a URL. So in utils also, you can in fact create a new file where you can just say constants.dart, and we can create another mixin called constants, and we can say static string catalog URL, for example, right? And here you can just paste the URL basically. So I'll just go back, I'll just copy this URL and I'll paste it over here, right? So that should do the job, right? So this is fine. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna remove this one. Okay, so now we are back into home page, and what I want to show some products after this. So I'll just say 20 dot height box, and I will say expanded as well so that it can expand everything. And then I will use something called a future builder, right? Future builder, right? Future builder will give us will take future from us, right? And give us a builder which will give us snapshot and some data, right? So this is what we will get. And in this future, we can fetch some data, we can do all sort of things, right? So what I am willing to do over here, I will create a new method called future. Let's say void for now. Get catalog data, for example, right? And this will be asynchronous. So I'll just say async. And here I can have a response kind of, and we will use a HTTP library. So I can import HTTP as dart as HTTP, and I can just say HTTP dot get, and I can pass the URL which I'll this time fetch from constants, right? So this will give you a brief idea how to use these things and how to work with all these things. And what it is saying is that string cannot be parsed directly. So basically it is saying us to parse it using this, which is fine, which we can do. And once we are done with that, we can replace this with this future with get catalog data, right? Which is now fine. We can even remove this. Oh, okay, let's leave it like this. And then we can return over here something which I'll just show you. Return return null for now, for example, but we'll come back to this. Okay, so we got our response. Once we got our response, we will actually print it. Okay, or you can even return it. Let's return this response. Um, and that response is of type response. So let's say response. Okay, this is what we have, right? And here, what I want to do, I want to check. Okay, return. I have a situation called return. So I'll check if snapshot dot has data. If it has some data, then I will maybe return some text saying that got data, something like this, right? And if it does not have a data, which means it has some error, right? So if it has some error, then I can say snapshot dot has error. Then I can return a text saying that some error occurred. We don't know yet what kind of error occurred, but for now we can just say that. And last but not the least, we will return circular progress indicator in the center, so that just saying that if the processing is still happening, right? So right, you can see if I go back and if I enter some name over here and do something over here, if I click on login, you will see a circular bar and then you see got data, right? So which means the things are working for us. We are getting some data over here, but what kind of data we are getting, right? That's the question. So to know that, we have to print this data, right? So we can do something like print snapshot dot data, right? Let's see if what we get. And if we see here, we get instead of response, which is not very helpful, to be very honest. So we can just say as response, right? And if it is instance of response, then let's see what we have here. So we have body, obviously we have a lot of things. So we can get the body, right? So now you can see we have the body where we have this string of JSON. This is a JSON, right? And then we have to map it with things, right? So what we can do with this, we got the body. So rather than returning a response, I'm not gonna do that. I'll do the logic which I'll do here. Rather than doing it here, I can do it here itself, right? So what I'm gonna do, just wait and watch. What I can do, in fact, is basically I can just say, for example, decoded response, for example, and I'll use something called JSON decode, and I will provide rest dot body here, which will give me, if you see JSON decode, it is giving me a dynamic object. Basically, it will give me a map of all the keys and values, right? For example, if there are products, it will give me all the products and everything, right? And then what we can do, we can, let's say right now, let's call it void only, and then we can print decoded response, for example, just to check how things are working. And let's remove this thing from here as well. And what wrong? This is wrong. So now if you see here, we still get all this data here, but this time this thing is continuously changing. Also, one more thing which we can do, let's remove this one. We can go back to our main.dart, and rather than saying login page, we can just say home page. Why? Because we are working on it. So if we do a hot restart, we can just go to home page. We don't have to go back to login page again and come back again here. And now you can see that it is just loading and loading, and there is nothing happening actually. So why that is now happening? Because we are not returning anything, right? So if I return over here, let's say decoded response. So if I do that, you can see we got the data, and we still have all this data where we have a products. Inside products, we have a lot of products and all those things, right? So what else we want. So what we want is basically we want to return here, we want to return products. Okay, just the product. So now if I do that, then you will see this time we will get, let's clean it up. And now if you do that, then you will see we got products. Uh, okay, that's fine. But this time we got last one, if you can see. Let's remove this one as well. This is also confusing a little bit. So now if I do a hot restart, hot reload, then oh, this time we didn't get anything. Let's do a hot restart. Okay, so yeah, this time we got ID and a list of all those kind of things, right? So there's a list of basically values which we got, which is list of map, right? So we can basically say here list of map, right? Where we have a string for key and some value, right? Dynamic value, for example. So what else we can do over here? One second, guys. So this is what we have. And now we get here decoded response. List dynamic is not a type of future of list and all that stuff it is saying, which means the type conversion is not working exactly like how we were thinking. So let's try to change it to list dynamic. Maybe that will work. Let's try this. Yeah, this is working fine. So now what I'm gonna do here, I am actually going to use a list view, and let's see if that helps. So what I'm gonna do, I am going to say list view dot builder, right? Where we will have an item count. So snapshot, if you see, we have an object which we can say that basically it is returning us a sync snapshot of list dynamic, dynamic, right? Yeah. And we have an item builder and item count. So basically we can just say snapshot dot data dot length to calculate this count, and we are sure the data cannot be null, so that's why we are using this mark. And item builder, for that we can have a context comma index, which will give us index of the or the position of the item. And also we'll say shrink wrap to true because we are using it in expanded and we want to shrink the items. And here what we want to say, so if you see the data, in fact I haven't shown you the data, but let's copy this data and let's create a new file over here. um JSON, right? So we have some data over here, which is not very helpful right now, but let's try. So we have ID, we have name, and all these sort of things, right? So what I'm gonna do, let's break it down a little bit, and then let's do like this. ID we have, name we have, then we have price, then we have color, um, then we have image, which is kind of a big thing itself. Yeah. So we have basically these things only, and that's it. So we have all these properties. First property is ID, then we have name, then we have description, price, color, and image. So what we want here, we can just fetch for what we can do. We can say, let's say final product, right? Product. Mm, and product can be snapshot dot data at this index, for example, right? Okay, so it cannot be null. And then we can say product, and we want to access name of it. So we can create separate models for it, but right now we don't have any models. So now you can see we got iPhone 12 Pro, Pixel 5, M1 MacBook Air, and all these sort of things, which is looking really, really nice, right? So what we can do, in fact, rather than showing this, we can in fact make a card out of it. So what I'm gonna do is I can create a card where in the card I can have a child, right? And I can have some sort of column where I will say image dot network, for example, for the first widget. Oh, 1 second. Let's have some children first. So I can say image dot network, and we can just say product and image. So we got a card, right? Which is looking a really nice card where we have all sort of products over here. And this card also can have a shape property where we can just say rounded rectangular border, right? And here we can just say border radius dot circular, and let's give a circular of 20. So this looks like a nice card now, right? So we got this, and not looking bad, to be very honest. This is looking nice. We want to add some more data to it. So what I'll do, after this image is displayed, I can add some sort of, let's say, for example, I can add, 1 second, I can add a text. So I can just say product name, right? Dot to string, for example, dot text dot make. So that will give us a text of the name of the product. And there I can use some more things, like I can make it semi bold. I can make it XL4, for example. Yeah, this is looking fine. We can also give it a color, let's say indigo 400, or maybe even darker than that, indigo 700, for example. Not looking good. Let's try with Cyan 500. Okay, none of them is looking good. Let's try something like purple 400. Oh, all of these colors are looking very bad. Let's try with red. This is still better. Red one is better. But I think black is the best one out of all of these. So let's stick with black. And then we have some price as well. So we have that price which we want to show. So we can similarly show, rather than name, we can just say price. And we got this price. So we can add it using like this. We can do some string interpolation over here so that we can add a dollar sign over here. So I can just say slash dollar, which will add this dollar here, which will make it even better, right? Um, and this is not looking bad at all, guys. Like this is really, really good. What I can do here is for the price, we can use, in fact, caption maybe. Yeah, this is looking better. It is giving some good feeling to our particular card. Or what we can do, we can have them as a V stack, both of these items. And we can just say, let's say V stack. And then we can wrap them with a box. And then we can make them. And the box color can be, for example, black. Okay. And then we can just say dot w full width full, not looking bad at all. And then we can just say rounded. Basically, I'll just show you. I'll make it better. Don't worry. So rounded with rounded, and we can just say 20, for example, 20 dot. Okay. What with rounded takes actually double value, right? So value as 20. And yeah, looking good. Rather than black now, I will call it, let's say, indigo 400. And now I will change the color of my from this one to white. Oh no, this can be fine. In fact, this color can be white. So a lot of things you can do, in fact, to modify the UI. This is looking much better now, guys. And yeah, I mean, this is getting a really good feeling in hand. And what else we can do is, in fact, this entire card which we are using, right? We can actually replace it with some sort of container or VX box, something like that. Maybe we can modify this one as well. So let's try this, right? Let's try one thing. Let's try with VX box. Let's remove the shape from here for now. And let's say dot make. Okay. And then we can give some neumorphic kind of look to this one. So we can say neumorphic. And okay, we have color issues. So we can just say colors dot white. Oh, and we have elevation issues as well. So let's say we have elevation of 10. And this is not looking bad actually, but we don't see any neumorphic design over here, right? Maybe the color is not matching. That's possible because we are not giving white background here. So let's say background colors as white. Now if we see, it's not looking good at all. So we can like play with it. We can try different things here and there. But the whole idea of making this is to just make sure that you understand the concept. And we can in fact do the same thing over here, rounded. Then we can do some outer shadow, let's say outer shadow of 3XL, which will look fine to me. Let's go back to card. That was much better, I guess. Yeah, that's that's a better looking thing. Yeah, this is looking better. And what else, guys? So this is looking good. Overall, the experience is quite good. And this is what we have achieved with this workshop, guys. And this is a full working application. I don't have time to give you more idea like how we can enhance this. So if we will have another workshop, then I'll enhance this application further, and I'll show you. If you will click over here, then we can do certain things here and there. But as of now, this is the application which we have got, and looking good. So we have like, I'll go back to main.dart and I'll change it back to login page. And then if I do a hot restart, we will go to a login page, which is looking very decent. I can say Pawan, and I can put some password over here, and I can click on login. It fetches the data and it shows the data, which is lovely. So this is the entire stuff, guys. This is the entire video which I wanted to talk about. This is I'll upload it on GitHub if you want to get a taste of it. And in the meantime, let me know if you have any questions. You can ask through your like the concerned person, and it will reach to me, or you can ask me on Twitter at the rate I am the PK. So thanks, and I'll see you the next time.
Thank you, Pavan sir. Thank you so much.